Recently, I've had the delightful experience of meeting a lot of different people in different contexts, both online and in person. People who've read my book, Uncompromising Intimacy, where I share the journey, the path, the guidelines, the ways of being, and the actions that you can take in order to cultivate depth of connection, emotional closeness, more fulfillment, and ultimately passion and erotic synergy. I really give the kind of, I was going to say basic building blocks, but honestly, they're not so basic. They're basic in understanding, simple to understand, but takes real attention and courage and curiosity to actually implement them. And in my book, Uncompromising Intimacy, I go through each of the qualities that are essential to have a really great relationship, a long-lasting, passionate, fulfilling, nourishing, adventurous in the ways that you want, whatever those are, marriage. Because having a fantastic relationship is entirely a learnable skill. And so if you don't feel you have that skill, if you don't feel you've created that with your partner, well, this is your very genuine invitation to spend time learning how. Every time you listen to an episode of the Intimate Marriage Podcast, you are definitely doing that. And if you want a more, podcasts include inspiration and whatever feels current, and it's just a less formal kind of setting, which honestly I just adore for the topic of intimacy and marriage. But if you want something a little more systematic, a little more planned and coherent and comprehensive, I highly recommend you get a copy of Uncompromising Intimacy, or you listen to it on Audible, where it's actually very much like listening to the podcast because I'm the one who recorded it. So I recently saw this review of Uncompromising Intimacy on Audible. It was left 5 months ago, but I actually just found it relatively recently. And it's from Dr. Una, who is Neka Unachekwo, who has just built such incredible businesses and is devoted to really the good for doctors and patients through helping doctors find business skills and integrity in what they're doing. Anyway, if you're a physician and you don't know of her, you should look her up, Dr. Una. And if you're not a physician, well, just know that there's so many people who are innovating ways to make the experience of receiving and delivering healthcare much more wholehearted. Anyway, what Dr. Una wrote 5 months ago is fantastic read. So many nuggets and gems in this book. I learned so much about myself and my marriage as I read it. Thank you for this great resource, Dr. Alexandra Stockwell. Now, she's been married a while. She has a really beautiful marriage. I've met her husband and 4 children, and I just love that my book spoke to her in this way. I hadn't even known she'd read it until I saw the review. I really wanted to reference the book because I'm going to do part 2 for Q&A. Last week, I answered 2 questions, and today I'm going to answer 4. And one of my answers is going to pertain to what I've just shared. So let's get on with it, less about what I'm going to do and just start doing it. So here is the first question. How do you not allow outside forces to interfere with intimacy time? I have a hard time getting in the mood due to irritation and annoyance. First of all, thank you for the question. If everyone listening were present in a stadium and I asked who relates to this, I fully expect a sea of hands to be raised. There's a lot to this, and I want to just give one answer because I'm very outcomes oriented, and I feel like if you take what I'm about to say and implement it, you are sure to shift this. Very often, we are busy with our work responsibilities, things in life, getting kids to bed, making sure the dogs are fed and walked, whatever it is, our business. We have all these things we need to take care of. And then we either feel tired or we feel irritated and annoyed at the end of the day. It's been too much multitasking, too much stress, whatever it is. And we're not in the frame of mind to leisurely lean in and enjoy the opportunity to make love, or fast and furious and deeply passionate experiences, whatever it is that you feel like in any given moment. That's the way you do sex in your marriage, because you're feeling irritated, annoyed, and so forth. And so if this is your situation, meaning you want to be available to enjoy intimacy with your spouse, but you're not there, then I highly encourage you to, on your own, this is from a woman, and so this response is very much for a woman to implement. Take the time to essentially create your own foreplay before the foreplay with your spouse. So I don't mean start touching your genitals, although you certainly could, but what is it that helps you to let go of irritation and annoyance? So the first thing is that you need to discover your answer to that. If you already know, then great, implement it. And if you don't already know, this is the opportunity to discover it. And it is really worth knowing what it is that helps you get yourself out of annoyance and irritation. I can give you a few hints if you're not sure that probably it has to do with getting out of your head, slowing your mind down, and getting into your body, breathing, relaxing, enjoying what it feels like to be you in body and soul. So maybe the way for you to get out of irritation and annoyance is to take a hot bath with bubble bath or other things, maybe with a candle and music. And so maybe you make a point of spending some time in the bath before moving on to intimate time with your spouse. Maybe it's that you want to turn on some music and be alone in the room and dance. And maybe it's fast music, maybe it's slow and sultry, maybe it's a combination, or it varies from time to time. If moving helps you, then make a point of doing that. Maybe it's exercise, whether it's right before you're going to be intimate, you work out, take a shower, and then you're ready. Or maybe it's just a matter of including exercise as part of your daily routine to get the energy moving and like unclog your psychological pores. And then you'd be more available for intimate time. Maybe it's getting under the covers by yourself, taking your clothes off and listening to some erotica before you connect with your husband. Maybe it's just sitting with a warm beverage, a cup of tea or decaf coffee or coffee, whatever the time of day is. Just sitting and having nothing to do, like letting the annoyance and irritation of the day just wash over you. And maybe it's not even the same every time, but to maybe do a little yoga. Like, it's really up to you. There's not a particular right way to do it, but it is your responsibility to identify what helps you let go of irritation and annoyance and feel more delicious in your own body and relaxed and available. And you can just convey to your partner that whenever you're going to be intimate, or most of the time, that it starts with you being by yourself for 30 minutes and then being available to connect with him. And if you convey it with an indication that you want to be more available and have more intimate time together, not that you need to warm yourself up in order to be with him because he's not good enough. No, you take responsibility and say you need more time to transition. My guess is that he's going to be very grateful to be able to begin the intimate time with you already altered in the ways that we've talked about. So give it a try. If this is relevant for you and you try it and it works really well, I'd love to hear. And if it brings up a subsequent question, I'd also love to hear that. All right, moving on to the next question. I don't have any context for this question. I just have what I'm going to share with you. What could a sexless partner ask for on their birthday to build intimacy with their partner or themselves? This question was asked by a man who says he's asking for a friend. And so there's nothing particularly gender determined in my answer. But I will say that you basically have two categories. I mean, who the person is, how much you want to spend. Like, there's so much context that needs to be known before answering this question. But I'll give you two principles to apply. Basically, if you want a birthday gift in order to build intimacy with your partner and yourself, there are two things to emphasize, or two possibilities. One is to focus on the experience you'll have. You have an experience as the birthday gift, or the birthday gift is a request for more education, more learning. So maybe you listen to my book on Audible together. Maybe you get sex formation cards. Like, there are a lot of different options of ways that you can listen to a number of episodes from the Intimate Marriage Podcast. And of course, there are many, many other resources as well. But you make a point of asking for something that will lead to the two of you feeling more comfortable, more confident, and more capable of being intimate with one another. Or you request to actually have an experience, and what that experience is really going to depend on where you're starting. It could be that you do a role play, or you take turns giving one another massages, or you go for a couples massage. Like, there's so many different things that can lead to more intimacy with yourself and your partner, and it really just depends where you're starting, which is why I just give the principles that you can think about. Do you want something that's educational so that you learn more about yourselves and more skills to be with one another? Or do you focus on creating a particular experience in response to your birthday request? All right, third question. I've had a lot going on in my life over the past year in particular, capped off by 2 deaths in the family during this past April. I'm so sorry. And when we lose someone, it has such an impact on our relationship with ourselves and our libido, for sure. Because of the emotional impact, my desire feels further from me than I want it to be. What can I do about that? Okay, this is a question from a man. It's a beautiful question. I'm so glad that you're aware and able to express your experience. And when it comes to feeling disconnected with yourself or disconnected from your desire feels further from you than you want it to be, the answer invariably is to slow down. Let go of the outcome you want. If you're used to being frisky and full of vitality and sexual desire, let go of reaching for that again, because the way it's going to come find you is when you slow down and feel the feelings that you have. In other words, what you're describing, feeling disconnected from your desire, it conveys a kind of a numbness. So honestly, with this question, I would ask, have you felt all the grief? I don't mean all the grief so you're done, but do you clamp down when feelings come find you? Because if you do, when it comes to feelings of grief and sorrow and loss, then it naturally happens that we're clamping down on other kinds of feelings as well. So my invitation to you is to just make more room for the full spectrum of feelings without judgment. You might feel guilty about feeling joyful and erotically alive. Just let what arises arise. You may feel just filled with sorrow and wonder where desire is. Whatever it is, we're talking about slowing down and being more connected with your own experience. I also will say that our sex lives, our sexuality is evolving and emerging and changing with us. And I invite you to allow a new flavor into your desire and sexual experiences that reflects the really impactful experiences you've recently had. Let yourself be whole and move slowly and compassionately. And what I'm really doing is giving voice to something that can just be summarized as integrating. So if your desire is far from you, you need to invite it gently so that you can reintegrate it. And the fourth question, which I'm going to paraphrase, it's from a man who says he's 70 years old and penis and vagina sex is not always a physical option, I assume because of erectile dysfunction. He says, I choose to believe that intercourse and outercourse are on the sex menu of most heterosexual couples. Please talk more about outercourse. Thank you for this question. I think it's so great. I love the term outercourse. Intercourse, of course, references penis and vagina experiences, and outercourse is a not very frequently used term, but it refers to all the other incredible sexual experiences that you can have without a penis being in a vagina in the heterosexual context. So outercourse is going to mean using your hands in wonderful ways. It's going to mean using your mouth, using your whole body, using toys, using various lubricating substances, warm oil or regular lube. And there's a whole world to explore of incredible sensations that are available to any heterosexual couple in the context of erectile dysfunction, and when a real gentleness is needed due to any kind of vaginal dryness or other kinds of symptoms that require a lot more care and a lot more simmering and warming up in order to be ready for deeper, more penetrative experiences. So I don't think I'm going to go into huge detail right now, but mostly I invite you to think of your sexual menu as something that includes both intercourse and outercourse. And when we think of outercourse, most commonly it's considered foreplay, like an hors d'oeuvre, and then intercourse is the main event. And very, very often, that is exactly the case, and I am all for it. And there are loads of times for a variety of circumstances where outercourse is both hors d'oeuvre and the incredibly fulfilling main menu. A flaccid penis can experience so much sensation if you touch it with care and respect it for what it is, rather than either person being frustrated that it's not erect. Treat a flaccid penis with all the love that it deserves without thinking of it as being inadequate in that moment, and all kinds of incredible experiences open up to you. So be creative. Outercourse is an invitation. And with that, I complete this quarter's Q&A episodes. I hope they inspire wonderful experiences, interesting conversations with your partner. And if you have any questions you'd like me to answer the next time I do a Q&A episode, please reach out to me on social media, or if you're on my list, send me an email. If you're not, you can go to my website, alexandrastockwell.com, join my email list and send me an email, and I'll be very glad to include your question. Oh, I should say that a lot of these questions came from my Facebook group. If you're on Facebook and you're not in my group, I invite you to join. It's the Intimate Marriage Facebook group, and I answer a lot of questions directly in there and interact with people and share some content that I don't post in other places. So join my Facebook group if that appeals to you, and I look forward to speaking with you or speaking while you listen next week.